Even in courtrooms, things can quickly turn violent. But maybe for parents and relatives who have to sit through the trials of criminals who murdered their babies, it's quite justifiable that they turn violent and attack them. Here are 10 baby killers who got attacked by parents. First on the list is Quinn Bowes. Quinn Bowes from Patoka, Indiana, was arrested in May 2018 after his 11-week-old son, Parker, died from head trauma. Bowes initially claimed he was asleep when the injury occurred and discovered the death of the infant only after waking up. He said the baby had slipped off his nursing pillow and hit the floor. Quinn Bowes was sentenced to 25 years with 19 years in prison and 6 years on work release as part of a plea deal. He was also ordered to pay for the funeral expenses. Joseph Hartley, the infant's uncle, was clearly devastated by the boy's death, and he couldn't conceal his emotions during the formal court proceedings. As Bowes was leaving the courtroom, here is what Hartley did. Facing the same judge who sentenced Bowes, Hartley was given 179 days in jail for contempt, and there's no doubt the man didn't regret his actions, as he really took a good swing at Quinn. But unlike Quinn, who saw his attacker coming, this next killer never had the chance. This is the case of Diddy Brown. Diddy Brown is a 23-year-old man accused of throwing a 3-year-old boy from a bridge into the Ohio River and fatally stabbing the boy's mother. Police stated that Nitisha was stabbed multiple times and her body was found in a bag near the river. 3 experts testified about Brown's mental capacity, providing mixed opinions. However, they all noted that Brown denied any involvement in the murders. Judge Megan Shanahan had earlier denied a motion to exclude the death penalty. She ruled that although Brown may have been suffering from bipolar disorder, his illness did not significantly impact his judgment. However, after several pieces of evidence, the judge ruled again that Brown did not suffer from a serious mental illness at the time of the crimes. A piece of drama unfolded during the court hearing. Nilo Latimore's father, Tonio Hughes, went for Diddy Brown. While some offenders got to show some pity for the dead, this next guy made the family's grief more in court than when they found out he had killed their children. This is the shocking case of Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer, known as the Milwaukee Monster, was charged with the murder of 17 males, murders he had done in a truly horrific fashion. Sexual assault, dismemberment, necrophilia, and cannibalism were all parts of his modus operandi. Dahmer reportedly had a typical childhood, but as he grew older, he became increasingly withdrawn and uncommunicative. During adolescence, he displayed minimal interest in hobbies or socializing, opting instead to dissect animal carcasses and engage in heavy drinking for amusement. Dahmer began luring victims into his home before murdering them and carrying out particularly disturbing acts with their corpses. He even went as far as killing a 14-year-old boy. While in court, the families of the deceased whose life Dahmer took had an impact statement, and many of them were full of rage while speaking.
Did you ever stop to think that this is someone's brother, nephew, uncle, cousin, grandson, or just someone's friend?
Some went on to curse him, and in one of the relatives' rage, she tried to attack him.
I'm mad. This is how you act when you are out of control. I don't want to ever see my mother have to go through this again. Never, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, I hate you, I hate you. This is out of control.
He was sentenced to 15 life terms for a total of 957 years in prison. Dahmer himself said he deserved to die for all he did, and he did get murdered in prison. But while Jeffrey got karma in jail, these baby killers were almost served their karma right in the courtroom. Jasmine Gordon and Clifford Thomas both appeared in Wayne County Circuit Court in Michigan and were convicted of involuntary manslaughter. Both Jasmine and her live-in boyfriend, Clifford, were accused of causing the death of a 3-year-old girl, Jamila Smith, Gordon's daughter, through physical abuse.
Opportunity to listen to the testimony of the medical examiner who testified that this child had over 50 injuries, and they were at various stages of healing.
The prosecutor described how Gordon sounded last September when she hurried Jamila to the hospital. The toddler was not breathing, and Gordon refused to explain what had happened. An emergency medical technician testified that she asked Gordon 4 times about the girl's condition, but Gordon did not respond. According to attorney John McWilliams, who was present in the courtroom, the child's father, Dwayne Smith, was preparing to deliver a victim impact when this happened. Now, what do you make of a scene when a prisoner attacks a fellow prisoner? Prison fight, you say? But this was no prison fight. It happened right in front of a judge, and it's the case of Davon Motchwain. Davon Motchwain, from Merced County, California, faced charges for the murder of a 9-month-old baby, Darius King Grigsby, whom he fatally shot in a drive-by incident. Details of his charges are 1 count of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. Alongside him, a 17-year-old was also taken into custody, accused of being the driver in the incident. Davon had confidently denied the charges pressed against him, but surveillance footage from nearby businesses and phone records placed Motchwain at the scene. Despite repeatedly denying any knowledge of the shooting, Motchwain eventually confessed that he was indeed present on that day, riding in a burgundy Chevrolet Trailblazer driven by a friend. Moving on to the court trial, the child's relatives attended the court trial to honor baby Darius and seek justice for him. Darius's family planned to attend every court hearing until they saw justice served. As the court hearing proceeded, chaos soon erupted when a fellow inmate did this to Devon. And while you may be wondering why Devon took the life of a child he didn't know, what do you say about this killer who took the life of a child he very much was close with? His name is Ryan Burge. In Clark County Superior Court, Washington, Ryan Burge, aged 38, received a 40-year prison sentence for killing Hartley while caring for her as a babysitter. Hartley sustained severe head trauma and passed away at a Portland Children's Hospital. A jury convicted Burge of second-degree murder but could not decide on a first-degree murder charge. They chose instead to find him guilty of first-degree manslaughter. The jury also concluded that several aggravating factors made his actions especially severe. Hartley was vulnerable. He breached a position of trust, and his conduct was intentionally cruel. In court, Tafoya, the victim's mother, expressed her inability to fully describe the profound impact of her daughter's death on herself, family, and friends. It was an emotional scene in court for the family of the victim, but while the judge was having some proceedings with Burge after just being brought in, Hartley's father was sure up to something nobody knew, not even the officials. In every case brought before a court of law, the judge is known to have the final say, which is why this next story shocked everyone. It's the story of Klaus Grabowski. On May 5th, 1980, at the age of 7, Anna argued with her mother and chose to skip school. On that day, she was abducted by Klaus Grabowski, a 35-year-old butcher whom she had previously visited to play with his cats. He kept Anna captive at his home for several hours, sexually assaulted her, and tragically ended her life by strangling her with a pair of his fiancé's tights. The prosecutors said that Klaus tied up Anna and put her in a box which he left on the shore of a canal. He tried to keep everything hidden from the public, but eventually confided in his fiancée. However, to his dismay, it was Grabowski's fiancée who ultimately reported him to the police. Grabowski was a convicted sex offender and had previously been sentenced for the sexual abuse of 2 girls. During the court hearing, Anna's grieving mother stunned everyone when she did this. It was evident to everyone that she acted out of immense pain. Despite being sentenced to prison, her sentence was later reduced. You don't always see a defendant acting as his own attorney, but faced with a barrage of evidence against him, this man did just that, and it sure didn't please people. Ronnie O'Neill III. On March 18, 2018, in Riverview, Florida, Ronnie O'Neill III, age 29, fatally shot his ex-girlfriend, 33-year-old Kenyatta Barron, and brutally attacked their 9-year-old daughter, Ron Nevea O'Neill, with a hatchet, killing her too. He also stabbed his 8-year-old son, Ronnie O'Neill IV, who survived and later recounted the events to detectives. Following these horrific acts, O'Neill set fire to their home. Despite suffering from stab wounds and burns, Ronnie IV managed to escape and informed a detective that his father had shot his mother. O'Neill was subsequently convicted of multiple charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, arson, and resisting a law enforcement officer. On July 23, 2021, Ronnie O'Neill III received 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, along with an additional 90 years in prison. O'Neill III also had an outburst with the judge when he was told to speak.
And the evidence is going to show that law enforcement tampered with evidence to meet their such high burden of proof.
Now, let's compare a woman who decided it was right to hurt her own son and who, like O'Neill, had no empathy for human life. It's the case of Pearl Fernandez. Gabriel Daniel Fernandez was born on February 20th, 2005, to Arnold Contreras and Pearl Fernandez. Soon after his birth, Gabriel was placed in the care of his great-uncle, Michael Lemos Carranza, and his partner, David Martinez. They raised Gabriel for 4 years. During Gabriel's 8-month stay with his mother and her boyfriend, Aguirre, many people reported signs of abuse to social workers at the Los Angeles County Department of Children and Family Services and the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Gabriel Fernandez suffered severe abuse abuse and torture. He endured regular physical beatings that broke his bones. He was forced to eat cat litter, feces, his own vomit, and spoiled food. He was burned with cigarettes, heated spoons, and lighters. He had to sleep bound and gagged in a small cupboard, and his teeth were knocked out with a bat. On May 22, 2013, Pearl Fernandez called 911 to report that her child, Gabriel Fernandez, was not breathing. Gabriel had been fatally beaten by his mother and Isauro Aguirre for not cleaning up his toys. When first responders arrived, they found him on the ground, naked and severely injured. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital, where doctors declared him brain dead. He died 2 days, 1 count of felon in possession of a firearm, which can carry up to a 5-year sentence, and 2 counts of felony firearm, which can carry up to a 2-year sentence. While in court, prosecutors brought a witness to testify against Clark, and here's what she said.
He proceeded to tell me that he would kill me if I told on him. He told me exactly what he did to Mr. Robertson. He told me that Mr. Robertson begged for his life, and that the only thing he was worried about was that he was on tether.
The jury returned a guilty verdict on all counts in 45 minutes before Macomb County Circuit Court Judge Diane Drzezinski. But there in court, a nasty scene immediately broke out. It was a grieving Robertson twin brother who wanted to pick on a fight with Jeffrey, but he eventually was restrained by the officials. Jeffrey was finally sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. Chaos in court has never been this way, but this next one was quite dramatic. This is the story of Jalen Forrest. This is Jalen Forrest. A 30-year-old from St. Denis was charged with murder. Louisville Metro Police were called to an apartment in the 4500 block of Broadleaf Drive, near the intersection of Shanks Lane and Cane Run Road in the city's St. Denis neighborhood. A third-party caller reported hearing someone screaming and yelling for help. According to a police report, the victim was on the phone with the 911 caller and was heard telling Jalen to get off before the line went dead. When police arrived, they found a person inside the apartment who was pronounced dead at the scene. Initially, police said the person had been shot, but an update later revealed the victim had multiple injuries, including fractured ribs, a broken jaw, and signs of strangulation. Police stated that the suspect was alone with the victim when they arrived. The suspect, identified as 30-year-old Jalen Forrest, was arrested at the scene and charged with murder, domestic violence. Now, during the hearing, there were multiple outbursts from the grieving family that led to a disruption of the hearing, even though the judge had initially announced
It's a public courtroom, so everybody is welcome to sit here and to listen. I'm not going to allow any outbursts or discussions or conversing amongst anybody in the courtroom, and I do expect everybody to conduct themselves appropriately.
Despite the judge's warnings, no one seemed to listen. Everything went smoothly until Detective Williams began his testimony.
Detective Burns, were you involved in investigating a homicide that occurred on September 18th, 2023 at 4523 Broadleaf Drive?
They then make contact with a property manager or maintenance.
At this point, the judge intervened in what was going to be an outburst.
Please don't let that happen again.
However, one woman wasn't convinced by the judge's warnings. She held the panic button all along.
Ma'am, Judge, should we clear the court? Yes. No, just ma'am, I'm sorry if you're not able to, you're excused.
You're my handicapped daddy. Him. And your dad, your my daddy.
Ma'am.
You sick.
Don't know what I'm going to do.
Sir?
The woman had to be excused from the courtroom. However, bigger problems surfaced immediately.
Leave! Cool off, you guys, go! Step outside! Cool off!
I don't know what I'm going to do.
Go!
To bring law and order back to the courtroom, the judge had to take this decision.
I know this is hard. Step outside or I'm gonna hold you all in contempt. Go! I'm gonna clear the courtroom. Everyone step outside for a second. I want the attorneys to approach. Everyone is excused at this time.
Even after everyone left the courtroom, the commotion continued again outside. The officials had to intervene again. This time, 4 people had to be arrested and charged for misconduct. However, the hearing was fixed at another time, and Jalen was held at a $500,000 bond after pleading not guilty. In emotionally charged courtrooms, crowdy commotions cannot be ruled out, but sometimes it can be a total surprise no one saw coming, just like in this case of Eric McCullough. This is Eric McCullough, a 47-year-old Chattanooga, Tennessee man accused of assaults and second-degree murder in the fatal stabbing of his niece, Tyacha McCullough, who beat his worst charges in court. Police say McCullough jumped out from a porch and stabbed Tyacha McCullough and Lee without warning while they walked by around 10:30 p.m. on a Wednesday in College Hill Courts. Lee told police he didn't realize Eric McCullough had a knife at first, and McCullough sliced his left side when he tried to stop the attack. Lee said Tyacha McCullough walked away but collapsed in a grassy courtyard. She died later that that night from her injuries. The uncle and niece had been fighting for several weeks before the stabbing, according to testimony. Eric McCullough told Chattanooga investigator Victor Miller his niece had accused him of spreading rumors about her drug use during an interview at the police service station. Miller charged Eric McCullough with criminal homicide at the end of that interview, but while in court, the scenes that transpired was a shocker to everyone and quite unpredictable. A certain Lee, who was in court for another unrelated offense, was called as a witness. However, to the amazement of everyone, Lee had mischievously conceived a plan. After everything was calmed, Lee was sentenced to 11 months and 29 days in prison, while Eric was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Jurors found Eric McCullough guilty of voluntary manslaughter instead of second-degree murder after 7 hours of deliberation in Hamilton County Criminal Court. They dismissed his additional charge of aggravated assault for stabbing another person, Antoine Lee, on July 29, 2015, in College Hill courts. While it's quite understandable to react after losing a loved one, it was close to overreaction in court after this guy took 2 lives. And this guy's name is Zydarius Platt. This is the case of Zydarius Platt, a Columbus man accused of murdering his pregnant wife, moves one step closer to trial. A Muscogee County grand jury indicted 32-year-old Zydarius Platt for the murder of his wife, Jelani, and their unborn child. According to court documents, Platt faces multiple charges of murder and feticide after shooting Jelani in the head with a Luger handgun. During Platt's preliminary hearing following his arrest in October 2009, Columbus investigators reported that the couple argued over rent money, which turned into a physical fight. Police say Platt admitted to choking her, causing her to fall to the floor at the top of the staircase in their Crystal Court apartment. Platt allegedly claims he left and came back home, only to find Jelani at the bottom of the stairs, not moving. According to investigators, at that point, Platt panicked, put the body in his Suburban, drove to a remote location, and accidentally fired his weapon in the air, a bullet hitting Jelani in the head. However, Zydarius Platt's attorneys argued that he thought his wife was dead when he took her to the pond, and that his gun accidentally discharged when he tried to unload it. If he believed his wife was already dead when he accidentally shot her, then he didn't have intent, and he didn't murder his wife, defense attorney Robin King told the court. Detectives say he later led them to the site where her body was found, a retention pond off Chautauqua Road. In court, the victim's brother, Carter, seemed to lose control and showed all his emotions openly. Officials led Zydarius away, but Carter, restrained but still emotional, and wouldn't stop yelling and also shedding tears.
Hold on. Sorry. We have to do that. I know.
I'll kill it. He should die. Give him to me.
Zydarius was eventually given his sentence, was sentenced to 2 life imprisonments. We all know that losing family, close friends, or loved ones is incredibly painful, and our reactions can vary. Which of these stories stood out to you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay tuned for more shocking courtroom scenes videos.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम दोस्तों, कैसे हैं? तबीयत से ठीक है? अभी हम ना AI शॉर्ट्स क्रिएट करने का सोच रहे थे, तो अभी देखते हैं ये AI शॉर्ट्स कैसे हम क्रिएट कर सकते हैं। सबसे पहले हम यहाँ पे साइन अप करेंगे। साइन अप का कहीं ऑप्शन होगा यहाँ पे, ये लॉगिन है। अब देखते हैं यहाँ आगे। पहले मैंने एक अकाउंट बनाया था, अगर वो अभी अवेलेबल है तो वो अभी बन जाएगा। अगर वो अवेलेबल नहीं है तो फिर मसला है, हम दोबारा से अकाउंट बनाने के। कंटिन्यू विद गूगल करते हैं, हमारे पास जो भी गूगल अवेलेबल होगा तो उसके साथ ये अकाउंट बन जाएगा। ये देखें जी, ये मेरे पास ये वेबसाइट ईमेल पड़ी है जिससे ये अकाउंट बनने जा रहा है।